On behalf of the California Latino Legislative Caucus, I rise to present Senate Resolution 29, recognizing March 31st, 2025 as César Chávez Day in the state of California. Today we recognize the life and legacy of César E. Chávez, and Chávez's life serves as an extraordinary example of how one person can overcome the odds and inspire a movement for social change. He was a symbol of justice, an educator of civil and human rights, a role model, and a beloved friend to many. In 1965, César Chávez and Dolores Huerta led a successful 5-year strike and boycott that rallied millions of supporters throughout the world to support the United Farm Workers. He built broad coalitions, bringing unions, faith groups, students, minorities, and consumers together in the name of social justice, advancing invaluable rights to some of the most marginalized people in our state, farm workers. He also recognized how powerful unity and solidarity was in advancing social movements. Larry Itliong, who would join César Chávez, using the phrase of solidarity, Isang Bagsak, did I do that right, Senator Cabaldan? Creating cross-cultural unity between Filipinos and Latino farm workers in their mutual struggle for a better standard of living. We know today just how important agriculture is to our state's economy and identity, and the challenges that farm workers continue to face with the lack of proper regulations and enforcement for the issues of heat illness in our fields. But their work is just as important now as it was when César was leading the call for social and economic justice. This recognition is also especially important to me as the son and grandson of farm workers and someone who was inspired by the life of César Chávez. Growing up, I heard the stories of my family of this great man named César Chávez. The impact of his life on my family in organizing and improving the standard of living for farm workers directly changed my family's life and mine as well. And as a young brown kid, his leadership on behalf of farm workers inspired me to dedicate my life to fight for economic and social justice, and he still is a hero to me to this day. When I was 9 years old, growing up in San Francisco, there was a campaign to rename a prominent street through the Mission District after César Chávez. And while most people at my age were busy playing Sega Genesis or on their Game Boy, I joined that campaign and served as a spokesperson to help rename Army Street after César Chávez in San Francisco. That campaign was more contentious than it should have been, even in San Francisco, but we overcame the opposition and won, and César Chávez Street is still there to this day as an example to our young people of the incredible life and legacy of this incredible leader. I want to recognize that we're joined here today in the Senate chambers by the niece of César Chávez, Linda Medina, who's been invited by my as a guest by my colleague, the senator from San Jose, and I know that he will also recognize her very shortly. Her mother, Rita Chávez Medina, was the sister of César Chávez and the founder of the Chávez Family Vision Incorporated, whose mission is to preserve and promote the legacy of César Chávez. We thank her for her work in advancing the values of volunteerism and nonviolence and making a positive difference in communities across the state. And may I ask permission to read, Madam President?
Yes.
I'll close by reading a quote from César Chávez. After concluding his 28-day hunger strike in 1968, he wrote in a letter that we cannot seek achievement for ourselves and forget about the progress and prosperity for our community. Our ambitions must be broad enough to include the aspirations and needs of others for their sakes and for our own. And I believe that all of us in this chamber, whose job is to advocate for the needs of the people whose communities that we represent, should take this quote to heart. Let us continue to work here in the state legislature with this goal in mind. Thank you for this opportunity to celebrate the life and legacy of one of the most important and influential leaders of our time, César E. Chávez.